Welcome to this class. In this class, we will first look at what is this analytical marketing system. What does it make use of? When we are looking at analytical marketing system, we are looking at basically the statistical bank. In other words, an analytical marketing system always makes use of a statistical bank. The next question comes, what does this statistical bank involve? It involves multiple regression analysis. Generally these are the things which we make use of: multiple regression analysis, then discriminant analysis. What do we mean by multiple regression analysis? We are looking at, for example, the demand for a product in terms of different variables which are likely to influence demand. Take the demand for any product. The likely variables which are going to affect or influence the demand will be the price of the product, one. Second is the availability of the product, two. Third is the disposable income of the consumer to take this product. Okay. Like this you can keep on listing. So, the market demand for a particular product will be the dependent variable. It depends on so many independent variables like the price, the place, then the different characteristics of the product, then the disposable personal income of the consumer, all those types of things. So, when you regress the dependent demand against all these independent variables, you are essentially doing multiple regression analysis. What are you trying to do by doing this? You are going to find out from the number of independent variables you have chosen to explain the increase or the decrease in demand, what is the percentage that is getting explained. Suppose you have chosen 4 independent variables, they explain 70% of the variation in the market demand, that is your R squared comes around 70%. That means to say the number of variables, independent variables that have been chosen explains 70% of the variation in the demand for the product, okay, which is generally considered good in marketing. Then the second one which we make use of is called the factor analysis, the discriminant analysis. Factor analysis is the third. What do we mean by saying discriminant analysis? We are looking at consumer traits. What could be an example for this? Look at the owner of a Maruti car, Maruti 800 car, vis-a-vis the owner of a Benz. What are the types of characteristics you can distinguish clearly between the owner of a Maruti 800 car and a Benz car owner? The first thing which you can make out is the income category in which these two consumers are likely to fall will be very different. Second thing which you can see is their social characteristics, that is the way they mix with the social class of people may also be different. So, So, all these factors are captured using discriminant analysis. So, the traits of the consumer for different products, some of the products may be luxury products, some of the products may be essential products. So, these different traits are really captured using discriminant analysis, which also makes use of multiple regression incidentally. Okay. Then the third one which we do is factor analysis. So, in this factor analysis, what are the instead of the single independent variables, we group them into factors, because all factors, all variables which are concerned with price, we group them under one factor, say factor 1. All factors concerned with income, we group them under one more factor, say factor 2. Again, the dependent demand is explained in terms of different factors. When do you resort to factor analysis is the next question. You resort to factor analysis when the number of variables is more and you want to condense them to different factors. So, you group these variables under different heads, maybe group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, and using the same multiple regression analysis, you use a factor analysis. Instead of the independent variables, you make use of the factors to explain the variation in the dependent factor or the dependent variable. The cluster analysis is the next one which we do. An example for this would be your automobile groups. So, there will be different automobile groups. One is the small car group, second is the mid sized car group, third is the luxury car group, maybe fourth you can have it as a what do you call the SUVs. So, group all these under different clusters and find out how the demand for these clusters are changing using these different groups. Suppose you are looking at the demand for one cluster, how the other clusters are affecting this demand. Then the next one which we make use of is what is called a conjoint analysis. What do we mean by a conjoint analysis? We look at designing an appealing product for a target market. We look at we do not want to come out with a product just for the sake of coming out. We have specified a target market. For that target market, only some products will have product appeal. So, when these products have product appeal, the conjoint analysis looks at designing an appealing product for that particular target market. So, maybe you are a user of a sports car. So, you are looking at a sports car for a particular segment, those who are fond of driving at a very high speed. So, when you are designing this sports car for this particular target market, you include certain special characteristics in that product. Though it is going at a very high speed, it should be able to brake immediately without hurting the driver. Even with all that, many times in the car races, the driver gets hurt, the car becomes turtle, all those types of things still happen. But when a product is designed having this type of a target market under consideration, we make use of this conjoint analysis. Some of the cars like this Porsche from Germany, which are being designed, always having a target market, appealing to that target market, making use of these different types of marketing system models. So, basically these are statistical banks which we make use of to analyze a market. The objective of the statistical bank is to help in analysis of the market. What has been listed here is some of the different types of analysis that can be done. So, these are used depending on the situation that you are going to encounter. So, you may use a multiple regression analysis or a discriminant analysis or a factor analysis or a cluster analysis or a conjoint analysis, depending on the type of situation that presents to you in the marketplace. The second one which we make use of is what is called the descriptive models. What do we mean by descriptive models? We look at two types of descriptive models. One is the macro, second is the micro. When we say macro, we are looking at a holistic level, that is a picture at the holistic level. Suppose you consider sales as the dependent variable, you may look at national income, you may look at average price and company advertising expenditure as independent variables. These are the links which explain the variations in the dependent variable. Again, you still may resort to a multiple regression analysis. So, when you are looking at a macro picture, you specify minimum number of links, you do not specify too many links. You specify those links which are very important for consideration. On the other hand, when you come to micro, what is going to happen is you specify more links. So, you expand, giving more links to the micro model, micro descriptive model. In addition to the micro model, you may use something like the micro behavioral model. What is this micro behavioral model? This is where operations research comes to the help of marketing. So, ultimately note that everything revolves, whether it is the statistical bank or the descriptive models, the ones which we go further like the decision models or the heuristic method or the linear mathematical models, all of them are concerned with markets. We are ultimately looking at the markets only, because markets dictate the survival of the firm or the demise of the firm. So, in a competitive market, a firm has to survive the competition. When it has to survive the competition, you have to look at all these models to help it keep itself assured or keep its face, keep its neck out in the whole marketplace, that is neck up in the marketplace. You cannot keep your neck down in the marketplace because there is stiff competition. Then you will be bulldozed by the other players. So, whatever it calls for, whether it is market research or analytical marketing system or the different types of models which we are discussing, the company has to adopt. In other words, marketing plays a very important key to the survival of the firm. So, this is what we are seeing in a city like Bangalore. If you look at the Silicon Valley, where you have so many software firms, what are they looking at? They are looking at all these types of models day in and day out, and they are giving it the name of marketing analytics, big data, all those types of things. So, essentially they are looking at these types of models to find out how does the consumer behave. If you really see, even in a World Cup cricket match, so many analytical models were designed to find out what should be the optimum timing of an advertisement which should come, which will not distract unduly the viewer, but still remain in the mind of the viewer. So, all these types of things are coming under the realm of marketing analytics. So, the micro behavior model makes use of the OR models. The OR models are basically, these two are commonly made use of. One is called the Markov process, the second is called the queuing models. So, what are you trying to do in these models? Suppose there are so many servers giving the same type of service, then if you are in the queue, which server is likely to serve you comes in this whole model scenario. So, server 1, server 2, server 3, and how much time he is going to take for you for the service. So, you are looking at the average waiting time in the queue plus the service time that is spent by the server on you. In the whole process, what are you getting? You are getting what is the time that you spend for one customer for one service. So, this is where many of these, if you look at the airport Bangalore, the Kempegowda International Airport, now you see so many planes landing. It is almost 1 in 2 minutes, there is a landing of a plane 1 in 2 minutes, and many of these planes are again taking off. So, when you see these planes landing, the passengers have to disembark from the aircraft, then their luggages have to come to the different conveyor belts, then the aircraft has to be cleaned, kept in good condition for the set of consumers or customers to embark the aircraft. It moves to the next destination. So, all this takes place in a very systematic manner, and when you are looking at an analytical model, you are looking at so many factors in this process, which are likely to disturb the turnaround time of the aircraft, that is increase the turnaround time of the aircraft. Any link in that supply chain, suppose it causes some disturbance, then the time taken for that particular supply chain activity will increase. The result is the turnaround time for the aircraft is likely to increase. The next type of models that we are going to look at makes use of mathematical routines. These are called decision models or optimization models using mathematical routines. These mathematical routine models can be categorized under 4 categories. One is differential calculus, second is mathematical programming, third is Bayesian analysis, fourth is game theory. We will look at some of these models when we go along. The other types of models that you can make use of is what is called the heuristic models. What is this heuristic models? They make use of computational routines. Many times you write an algorithm to solve a particular situation. So, you write an algorithm and that algorithm goes through different routines, and this gives you how the dependent variable is going to get affected. These different computational routines many times may make use of different aspects like the branching or the looping wherever it is required. Okay. So, this is the other set of models. The last set of models which we make use of in marketing is the mathematical models. What does this mathematical models give? It looks at linear and non-linear, that is linear regression, non-linear regression. Linear regression means it follows a straight path, non-linear it does not follow a straight path. Then we may look at static model and dynamic model. Static model where we look at one particular time horizon. A dynamic model we are looking at different time horizons, it is a continuous one. Then you may look at a deterministic model or a stochastic model. What is a deterministic model? You are making use of the different attributes of the product to determine, that is to say exactly how much the dependent variable is going to influence. So, it is a deterministic probability. What is a stochastic probability? In fact, when you look at deterministic probability, that probability is itself is not there, it is the whole whatever you have arrived at is deterministic. Suppose you say this particular variable is going to influence the demand by 25%, you are determined or you have found out that this is the variation that is going to come with respect to the demand using this particular variable. When you use the stochastic method, you attribute a probability for that. You say this may affect the demand say by 20%. So, you give a probability of 0.2 for that, then you look at the other different variables, give them different probabilities. When you give all these different probabilities, you are looking at an LP, that is a linear programming model, making use of a stochastic process. That stochastic process makes use of different probabilities to address a situation. So, these are the different types of models that you are going to look at in an analytical marketing system. So, just to recap all this, We make use of statistical banks. The statistical banks help in developing a model bank. These statistical banks basically make use of multiple regression, discriminant analysis, factor analysis, cluster analysis and conjoint analysis. When we move to the descriptive models, we look at two types of models initially. That is, we look at macro models where the links are limited. Then we look at the micro model where the links are more. Then we may want to again look at a micro behavioral model. We look at the behavioral picture also. So, you have more links, you have the behavioral aspect coming in. So, there the OR portions coming, and here we make use of the Markov process and the queuing models. When we look at the decision models, we are looking basically at the optimization models. These optimization models look at differential calculus, that is, make use of differential calculus, mathematical programming, Bayesian analysis and game theory. These are called mathematical routines. Then we may also make use of heuristic models when we use computational routines. Then again, we may also make use of mathematical models where we use the linear programming and the nonlinear programming. It can be static or dynamic, it can be deterministic or stochastic depending on the type of models that you are solving. So, these are basically the vast gamut of analytical marketing system activity that is taking place in the realm of marketing in the present day context. All this is getting grouped under this broad terminology called marketing analytics. So, any recruiter in the present day is looking at analytics, that is, he is looking at, I recruit this person, how useful is this person going to be for the organization. So, kindly note that everything revolves around marketing and he is looking at your usefulness to solve many of the marketing related issues which might come in. So, basically he is trying to address how you can improve the sales for him and consequently how his profits can improve. Kindly note that no firm is functioning in vacuum. No firm is trying to say everything I am doing for a non-profit activity. No, a business is a profit making activity, whether one likes to say it or not. You have to look at business as a profit making activity, and in a business situation it is not considered bad to make profits out of a business. In fact, right now the more profits you make, the more you are contributing to the GDP of the nation. Okay. So, this is a type of scenario which you are likely to have. So, this broad field of marketing analytics addressing all these questions. Then when you are looking at a scenario where large amount of data is coming in with respect to the organization. So, the size of the organization increases, sometimes the size might be medium also, but still the data that you may have to handle might be very large. So, that is where you make use of your big data analytics. So, all this coming under the terminology of analytical marketing systems. So, we stop here, we will continue in the next class. Okay. Thank you.